for Inter. They've just lost 3 in a row now for the first time since 2017. And when all is said and done, Grella, will we look back on this match if they don't win the Scudetto and think this is where they lost it?
I'm not sure, Pabi. I think that's not true. You know, last week it was the throw-in that we talked about. Inzaghi talked about the throw-in, that Bologna took the throw-in too much. Now we're going to talk about the penalty soon. We're going to have Uncle on. We're going to talk about the no call on the penalty. But for me, it's an Inter side that played so many games, that didn't do enough in the market in January, that they didn't have a lot of ideas in this game. They've had injuries. They have players playing that are half injured. They didn't have Dumfries for large parts of the season. They didn't have so many different things. So I don't think it comes down to just this one game. But for me, there's a million storylines. The biggest one, obviously, the treble. We're watching it disappear right before our eyes. But the biggest storyline for me from today is Ranieri and what he's able to accomplish to win away from home against a very good Inter side. 18 unbeaten, I think Marco said. The way they managed the different moments of the game, I think is the beauty of Italian coaching, is they knew when to sit in, they knew when to counter. And by the way, if Dovbyk was half decent today, he gets 2 or 3 goals on the counter, and they put that game away way earlier. But the way they managed the game, the biggest shame is that Ranieri's not going to be there next season, because watching him coach is a real art. And if you're into the game, watch this guy. He's one of the best that's ever done it.
Like Grella said, there's so many different angles that we could take on this because of the storylines in Serie A. If we just talk about Ranieri, the fact that he could get this team into a Champions League spot, they were battling relegation when he came in. I believe it was 4 points off of relegation. Since 2025, there's been no team that's been better than them. The 18 unbeaten. And this is a game that I thought, you know what, Roma's not going to lose a game, but I didn't think they had the capabilities to win it. And they even had better chances to score and played a better game than Inter for me. And he lost Dybala. That was a big talking point, was what are they going to do without Dybala? Soule stepped up, and he's made players better. Inter is obviously the thing that we have to say the disappointment. The time that they had these games against Bologna and Roma, it could not have come at a worse moment for them. There's so much talk on the game that it was moved to this point. But for me, Inter had no answers. Without Thuram, who here has speed? Who here has the ability to dribble his man 1v1?
Is the title race over?
Very one-dimensional.
Would you go that far in saying? No, the title race isn't over.
Looks over to me.
Really?
The treble, that looks over to me, to be honest. When I look at the team...
So you're looking at Inter now thinking this is a trophyless season.
Last week, we had an argument because it's like, oh, the treble's still open. It's still a mathematical possibility. But when you really watch the games and you really watch this team, they just look void of ideas. There's been so many changes. Even when they were fit, Inzaghi have changed the team so much to try to prepare for this moment of the season. Then so many injuries. And then at the end, they rely on so many hopeful crosses against a Roma side that ate up the crosses all day. And we talk about the throw-in last week against Bologna. Inzaghi says they went up the field and threw the ball. Now we're going to talk to Uncle about this penalty situation. It does change moments. But you've also had 180 minutes where you don't score a goal. And by the way, if you include Coppa Italia against Milan, now you're talking about, quick math here, but 270 minutes where you don't score a goal and you don't look like scoring a goal. And that to me is the real truth.
When you say they've lost the treble, just very quickly, what will you pin it down to? Lack of depth, just lack of how they were not able to get out of second gear, how they've stumbled at all the wrong times?
In my opinion, fatigue, too many games of football, and not a good enough January market. I think it was clear that Thuram, you needed to have a replacement with the characteristics of Thuram, which is not easy to find, but you had to have that. And then they just didn't have a good enough market. Anytime Cianolu, Bastoni, and Thuram were out of the team, it looked like a different team.
Okay, let's bring in Christina, Uncle, because she is standing by for us to talk about the potential penalty. Christina, good to see you. What did you think of that with Bisek and Ndika in the box there? Should it have been recommended just to even look at it for the referee?
Yes, I do think this should have been a recommendation for a penalty check for that holding. And I'm into Grella's math as to how many minutes needed to go in for the Inter to be able to score. But ultimately, the referee's decision here is to be able to get these decisions correct when we're talking about decisions that affect the outcome of the game. As you see the holding in the middle section, pulling him back, there's been, leading up to this, 3-4 different incidents in the second half alone with an upper body holding that all happened off the ball. Yet in this play, when we're talking about the shoulder to shoulder, when we're talking about did the attacker commit the holding foul first before the defender, this one was very clear that it was pure from behind, none of that jostling through the back. Doesn't take a lot from a defender to throw an attacker off. And then the biggest consideration is the ball dropping to the feet of that attacker and to not allow him to it. I'm surprised that this was not recommended down for a penalty for the referee to take a look at it. Like I said, couple of instances leading up to it, which is probably why they're saying it might have just been a tussle off the ball. But when you have that clear evidence as the VAR for a decision that affects the outcome of the game, and this falls into the consistency of what we've seen throughout Serie A for this season itself, should have been a recommendation, and the referee should have accepted it and taken it for a penalty.
Christina, my biggest question is, why does he not at least go and check for himself at the monitor? There's so much at stake. We're talking about a potential Scudetto. Even if it is 50-50, shouldn't he go to the monitor and at least witness with his own eyes if he declares that it should be a penalty or not?
So within the VAR protocol, a center referee can initiate a check on his or her own without a recommendation from the VAR. Very, very rarely do you see that occur, just for the fact that there should be training enough from the VAR upstairs to be able to say if it's a clear and obvious error that they could send it down themselves. So the likelihood of somebody doing that outside of maybe kind of a very one-off, rare, unique, specific instance for game management, would you see a referee initiate their own VAR check without that recommendation from the VAR upstairs in that room? To your point, they do have the authority. The center referee here, he could have. It would just be a little bit out of protocol to be able to do that and initiate it yourself. Even though this is a big incident, if he's repeating, here's what I saw, this is what I see, and the VAR does not still think it rises to the level of clear and obvious error, you would hope and rely on the team to be able to give you that information going back that way.
Unk, so lovely to see you. I'm going to ask you a question, and you can only answer yes or no in this question. You're refereeing the game. They call you to the monitor, right? You see that again. Is it a penalty for you, yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's a clear as day penalty, right? Because once the attacker wins that position on the defender, you can't touch him there, right? I mean, any contact, whether it puts him down off or not, is going to be a foul. So once he spins him there, and Ndika's on the wrong side, he's not ball side, goal side anymore. You see there, B6 there. Once you touch him there, even if it's less than that, it's a foul, right? Mm-hmm.
And that's where Grella, I mean, first of all, don't get into the habit of making me only say yes and no.
I'm sorry. I knew you were not going to like that. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I knew it. I was going to give it to you, right? This is a good day to do that. But no, I mean, you just hit it right on the head. And we talk about it all the time, right? It's the instance in there. It's not that shoulder to shoulder. It's from behind. It's pulling him off of his game. It doesn't take a lot to throw somebody off of their momentum when they're moving forward and the trajectory is being pulled back, especially when they're leaning forward. And those are all of the different considerations you take. It's not a football play, especially when we're looking at from basically the hip up and any of the upper body movements. You're never going to play the ball with your hands. So there at that point, you're just purely playing the player.
The treble is out of question now after they lost to Milan 3-0 in the Coppa Italia. Now they've lost to Roma, which puts a big dent in their Scudetto hopes, and they've got to go to Spain, to Barcelona on Wednesday, which is a shorter turnaround than they originally wanted in the Champions League semi-final, who might be without Robert Lewandowski, but as we saw yesterday, they are flying. The title now is really out of their hands if Napoli win later. Is the Scudetto race over, Matteo?
Right now, I'm seeing a complete meltdown from Inter. 3 losses in a row, not 1 goal scored. And I feel like the penalty situation we talked about, that Inter should have been awarded a penalty, it's kind of glossing over the fact that it was another really poor game from Inter. I mean, they were split wide open by Roma in the first half, especially on the counter. We didn't see those moments of brilliance that we've seen so many times in the last 2 seasons for Inter. So this looks like a team that is tired physically, mentally, and they are picking the absolute worst time in the season to have this complete meltdown. This is not the team that we've been covering all season long. That nothing's going right for them. So yes, they should have had a penalty, and maybe that would have given them a point. But the reality is they no longer control their own destiny. Napoli can win every single game. They are guaranteed a Scudetto. They wouldn't even go to this new Scudetto playoff final, assuming they finish level on points.
Yeah, your mad maths might be over.
So Inter have lost that. They've lost the ability to control their own destiny, and that is massive. I see Napoli winning the Scudetto now.
Wow.
I think that I could see Napoli. I don't think Napoli will win all of their games, but it would be hard for me to see Napoli lose, right? In a lot of their games, they do a lot to protect their goal, and their struggle has been scoring a goal. So you could see a slip up there, maybe a tie against either Torino or Lecce or Parma. Some of those could be tricky games. But the fact that Inter lost really puts a damper on this. And I think there's an argument to be made that Inter could go all in now on the Champions League, because that's their most realistic chance of trying to win a trophy. You have to go up against Barcelona.
Is it you'd say that is an easier road to a trophy at this point through
they're going to play full strength.
Yeah.
play
now
full
it
strength
was,
in
not
every game.
before the
I would
match
say
day.
that.
But Inzaghi said he's going to play full strength in every game
Well,
for
he
the
didn't.
rest of the season.
Yeah, but
He has to.
But I'm saying they don't control their destiny, like we just said against Napoli. They do in the Champions League. Of course, Champions League, nobody could calculate if you're going to be able to win. But I'm saying there's an argument to be made that that's their most realistic chance of winning a trophy. And I think that you brought it up with Dumfries coming in, and it's something I've been saying for a while now. Dumfries' importance is massive. Thuram's importance is massive. Inter don't have these qualities in different players. Yes, you could have a guy like Darmian who will fill that role, but he's completely different in what he offers the team. Same thing when you drop off from Thuram. There's nobody within this squad that takes on his man, that dribbles, that has speed in behind. Without those players, this Inter suffers a lot.
Do you really think that's the most realistic avenue?
Yeah.
The Inter, if this Inter of the last month shows up against Barcelona, they're going to get embarrassed. I don't even see it being a close game.
I don't think it's going to be a close game in the semifinal.
Inter, they have nothing in the tank unless they can evoke something that's not there. We didn't see it today. So today's the game. They're like, right, if they have a little bit of juice left, at least let's see it today.
They showed it for
there
8
was
minutes.
nothing.
Yeah,
there
they,
was
they
minutes in
had
the
a
beginning of
great
the game.
start, and Thuram now as well might not be available,
that's the
which is
biggest
a
problem.
really
I'll say this also. From right now, yeah, they're even with Barcelona to go through, and then would have a difficult final. Obviously, out of the Coppa Italia, now Scudetto is not in their hands anymore. So yeah, obviously, right now the Champions League is the most important one. But you don't lose 1-0 to Bologna, 3-0 to Milan, 1-0 at home to Roma, and then you just go to Barcelona on 2 days rest and press a button. Oh yeah, we're back.
Great point, Mike.
Just watch the game. They're not there. They're running on empty. They're tired. They're old. They're out of ideas. They lost a different dynamic through Thuram.
They lost Pavard today.
I mean, they look to me like they don't have an answer when they go down. And for me, yeah, they are in the semifinal. It's an amazing job for the budget that they have, for the players that they have, at the age that they are. It is an amazing job. But when you compare this Inter side to the 2010 Inter side, or when you compare this Inter side to even last year's side that had real teeth and real energy and real intensity when they closed games out, last season they only lost 2 games. We're talking about they lost 3 in a row and got clean sheeted in all of them and shut out in all of them, which hasn't happened since I'm being told 2012, 13 years ago. So this is not an Inter side that's going to go to Barcelona and press a button. Do they have the qualities to get something from the match? Sure. But they're not going to press a button and
So,
dominate
Grella,
Barcelona. No way.
Are you saying that Inter's going to end the season trophyless?
It looks like it to me. Absolutely, it looks like it to me.
And
I
who
said
would
it
have said this a month ago? Who would have said this a month ago? I think we all would have said, of course they're going to win 1 trophy at least. We're talking about the treble. We thought, okay, Coppa Italia, Scudetto, right? They're the favorites in both. That makes sense. But this is a complete different narrative, Poppy. And it's just based on 3 games now. It's not 1 bad half.
I mean,
and there were signs before the 3 bad games, because we've come on here so many times and said, that wasn't great from Inter. There was a mental lapse. They're playing down to the opposition.
Gear, right? And then we wondered, which way is the gear going to go? Is it going to go up, or is the gears going to go down? And I think now we're starting to see the true answer, aren't we?
I don't want to even also, I don't want this panel to sound like it's negative Inter, because I think we've been very positive Inter. On their day,
they have no chance against Barcelona.
I didn't say that. I said if they play like the last 3 games. Why am I getting misquoted?
They're the best team in Italy.
You just said.
If they play like the last 3 games, they're going to lose 5-6-0.
Marco,
Have you seen Barcelona yesterday against Real Madrid?
Then?
Obviously,
with 2 days rest away from home.
It's the worst case scenario for them to come into this, but I think Champions League is the competition they've taken the most seriously, that they want the most, and that's been said by the players themselves. In the beginning of the season, Bastoni, they asked him, would you take the 21st Scudetto guaranteed or a Champions League final? He said a Champions League final. That's one thing that I've rarely ever heard from any team.
So Cherby's just going to press a button. It's right there.
Hold on.
He's just going to go like that, boop, and then they're going to go beat Barcelona.
Nobody said that. But you can't rule them out in this match because of the way that they match up tactically. So it's not ideal. I want to see which team comes out.
How they match up tactically. What are they going to do tactically against Barcelona?
The runs in behind from the wing back.
Also, to finish my point from before, I don't want to sit here and say, oh, because we've bigged up Inter, rightfully so. They play the best football. They just don't have enough good days. They don't have enough consistency at the highest level. And I don't want to sit here and sound, all right, now we're negative Inter. But with the money you've spent, what do you want from Acerbi? What do you want from Darmian? What do you want from Mkhitaryan? I mean, we're talking about the treble with guys that are over 35 years old.
Twilight
I mean,
of their
come
career.
on.
Yes.
They have over achieved
And they've said themselves
unbelievably.
we're tired. So is this really a problem? Because you guys sit here all the time and say, Pepe Marotta is one of the best. He's one of the best.
He is with the budget.
Is he still one of
Yes,
the best with
the
budget?
money that
They
he
didn't
transfers.
didn't bring anyone in. I mean, you were talking earlier, Taremi isn't doing anything. So why is it such a big drop-off with Thuram if we're talking about a treble contender?
I do think that I said in January that they made a mistake not getting another forward. That's where they needed it was so clear and obvious. I mean, Milan, even Napoli with Neres, Juventus, they all have players who could dribble 1v1. I don't see that with Inter. It's a glaringly obvious mistake that they made. Taremi is one that has not lived up to the expectations. We thought we were going to get a much better player. He is not that. That's clear. That's very obvious. And they did make mistakes in January, something that we came on here and said. But it's still not all done and dusted. I'm not counting them out against Barcelona yet.